Captain Sarah Chen stared at the massive alien ship floating outside her viewport. The vessel was 3 times larger than her exploration ship, the Endeavour, and its smooth purple hull gleamed with strange lights. She had never seen anything like it in her 20 years of space travel. "Captain, they're sending another transmission," said Lieutenant Rodriguez from his communication station. His voice carried a mix of fear and excitement that Sarah understood completely. This was humanity's first contact with alien life, and it was happening under her command. "Put it through to the main screen," Sarah ordered, straightening her uniform. The face that appeared on the monitor made several crew members gasp. The alien had pale blue skin, 4 yellow eyes, and a mouth full of sharp teeth. When it spoke, its voice was cold and commanding. "I am Ambassador Crixtal of the Galactic Council," the creature said in perfect English. "You have entered our territory without permission. This is a serious violation of galactic law." Sarah felt her heart racing, but she kept her voice steady. "I'm Captain Sarah Chen of the Earthship Endeavour. We're on a peaceful exploration mission. We had no idea this space belonged to anyone." Ambassador Crixtal made a sound that might have been laughter, but it sent chills down Sarah's spine. "Of course you didn't know, primitive creature. Your species has barely learned to leave your single planet. You are nothing compared to the great civilizations of the Galactic Council." The alien leaned forward on the screen, and Sarah could see the arrogance in its 4 eyes. "The Council has ruled this part of the galaxy for over 3,000 of your Earth years. We have brought peace and order to 47 different worlds. Now it is time for your world to join us." "Join you?" Sarah asked, though she suspected she wouldn't like the answer. "Your planet Earth will become a protected tributary world under Council authority," Crixtal explained. "You will provide resources and labor to support the greater good of the galaxy. In return, we will protect you from the dangers of space and help guide your primitive civilization toward enlightenment." Sarah's jaw tightened. She had studied enough human history to recognize the language of conquerors. "And if we refuse?" Crixtal's sharp teeth showed in what was definitely not a friendly smile. "Refusal is not an option, Captain Chen. The Council has peaceful ways of bringing reluctant worlds into compliance. We have weapons that could turn your planet into space dust in a matter of minutes, but we prefer not to waste useful resources." The bridge fell silent, except for the quiet hum of the ship's systems. Sarah's crew looked to her for guidance, but she felt the weight of an impossible decision. How could she speak for all of humanity? How could anyone make such a choice? "I need to discuss this with my government," Sarah said finally. "This is not a decision I can make alone." Ambassador Crixtal tilted his alien head. "Very well. The Council is not unreasonable. We will give your leaders 30 solar cycles to consider our generous offer. Return to your world and explain the situation to your governing bodies." 30 days, Sarah said, wanting to make sure she understood correctly. 30 solar cycles, Crixtal repeated. "After that time, a Council demonstration fleet will arrive at your system. If your world has not agreed to join the Council peacefully, we will be forced to use other methods of persuasion." The screen went dark, leaving Sarah staring at her own reflection. Around her, the bridge crew remained silent, waiting for orders. She knew they were all thinking the same thing she was. 30 days to decide the future of the entire human race. "Rodriguez, open a channel to Earth Command," Sarah ordered. "Priority Alpha transmission." "Yes, ma'am," the lieutenant replied, his fingers flying over his controls. "Channel open." "Earth Command, this is Captain Chen aboard the Endeavour. I need to speak with Admiral Torres immediately. We have a code first contact situation." The response came quickly. Admiral Marcus Torres appeared on the screen within minutes, his weathered face showing concern. "Sarah, what's your status? Are you and your crew safe?" "We're safe for now, Admiral," Sarah replied. "But we've made contact with something called the Galactic Council. They claim to control this part of space, and they want Earth to surrender and become their tributary world." Admiral Torres was quiet for a long moment, his expression growing darker. "Tell me everything, Captain. Don't leave out any details." Sarah spent the next hour explaining her encounter with Ambassador Crixtal. She described the alien ship, the demands, and the 30-day deadline. Admiral Torres listened without interruption, occasionally making notes. They think we're primitive, Sarah concluded. They believe we're just another weak planet they can easily conquer. They have no idea what humanity is really capable of. Admiral Torres nodded slowly. Captain, I need you to return to Earth immediately. Set course for Luna Station maximum speed. And Sarah, maintain radio silence until you reach our space. Don't give these aliens any more information about our capabilities. Understood, Admiral, Sarah replied. What should I tell my crew about our situation? Tell them the truth, Torres said. We've always known this day might come. Humanity has been preparing for first contact scenarios for decades. Some of those scenarios involved hostile aliens who wanted to conquer us. Sarah felt a spark of hope. Are you saying we have options, sir? Admiral Torres smiled. And for the first time since the encounter began, Sarah felt truly confident. Captain, these aliens have made a serious mistake. They think they know humanity based on what they can see from their long-range scanners. They see one planet with nuclear weapons and assume we're helpless. But we're not helpless, Sarah said, beginning to understand. No, we're not, the Admiral confirmed. The Galactic Council is about to learn that humanity doesn't surrender easily. They're also going to discover that we've been very busy in the outer system for the past 50 years. Sarah's eyes widened. She had heard rumors about secret military projects in the asteroid belt, but she had always assumed they were just stories. Admiral, are you telling me we actually have a hidden fleet? Captain, return to Earth and prepare your crew for debriefing, Torres said, avoiding her question directly. The next 30 days are going to change everything for humanity. The Galactic Council thinks they're dealing with a primitive planet that will surrender at the first show of force. The Admiral's expression grew fierce. They're about to learn that humans don't bow to anyone, and they're going to discover that Earth has teeth they never imagined. The transmission ended, leaving Sarah alone with her thoughts and her crew. As the Endeavour turned toward home, she couldn't help but feel excited despite the danger. Humanity was about to face its greatest challenge, but she suspected the aliens had no idea what they were getting themselves into. The journey back to Earth would take 5 days. Sarah hoped it would be enough time for humanity to prepare for war. Because despite the Admiral's confidence, she knew that was exactly what was coming. The Galactic Council had made their intentions clear, and humanity had never been good at surrendering. The stars ahead seemed brighter somehow, as if they were lighting the way toward humanity's destiny among the stars. Ambassador Crixtall stood before the massive holographic display in the council chamber, his 4 eyes gleaming with satisfaction. The chamber itself was a wonder of galactic architecture, with representatives from 47 different worlds, seated in floating pods around the central platform. Each species was different, but they all shared the same expression of bored superiority as they listened to his report. Fellow council members, Crixtall began, his voice echoing through the vast space. I have successfully made contact with the primitive species from the planet they call Earth. As expected, they are a single-world civilization with basic nuclear technology and crude space travel capabilities. War Marshal Thekmor of the Dreknari Empire leaned forward in his pod, his reptilian features showing mild interest. What was their response to our generous offer of protection, Ambassador? They requested time to consider our terms, Crixtall replied with obvious amusement. 30 solar cycles, as is customary for new worlds. Of course, they will ultimately accept. They have no choice in the matter. High Counselor Veltara of the Ancient Etherian Collective spoke next, her crystalline form shimmering as she communicated through thought waves. Have you analyzed their military capabilities, Ambassador? The standard protocols require a full assessment before integration. Crixtall activated the holographic display, showing images of Earth and its surrounding space. Our long-range sensors have provided complete data on their defensive capabilities. They possess approximately 300 small warships, primitive by our standards. Their weapons appear to be kinetic projectiles and basic energy beams, no shielding technology worth mentioning. He gestured to another image showing Earth's surface. Their planetary defenses consist of nuclear missile silos and some orbital platforms, impressive for a single-world species but utterly inadequate against even our smallest demonstration fleet. The council members made various sounds of agreement and dismissal. These primitive creatures were clearly no threat to the established order of the galaxy. It would be another simple integration, just like the dozens that had come before. What about their population and resources? Asked Merchant Prince Goldar of the trade-focused Viridian Union. Will they provide adequate tribute to justify the cost of integration? Over 7 billion individuals, Crixtal replied. Abundant natural resources, including rare metals and fertile agricultural land. Their industrial base is primitive but shows potential for improvement under proper guidance. They will make excellent workers once they accept their place in the galactic order. War Marshal Thekmor stood in his pod, his massive frame making the other representatives look small by comparison. Ambassador, I must ask about their psychological profile. Some primitive species can be troublesome during the integration process. Do these humans show signs of excessive aggression or independence? Crixtal made the sound that passed for laughter among his people. War Marshal, these creatures, spent most of their recorded history fighting among themselves over trivial differences. They lack the unity necessary for effective resistance. Their largest military forces number only in the hundreds of thousands, and they have no experience with space warfare. He paused for effect before continuing. Moreover, our psychological analysis indicates they are primarily motivated by self-preservation. When faced with overwhelming force, they will surrender rather than face extinction. It is the logical choice for any intelligent species. The High Counselor's crystalline form pulsed with approval. Then we follow standard integration protocol. War Marshal Thekmor, prepare a demonstration fleet. 200 ships should be more than sufficient to convince them of our superiority. 200 ships? Thekmor seemed almost insulted by the suggestion. High Counselor, my smallest patrol group consists of 500 vessels. Surely these primitives deserve at least some respect for their courage in exploring space. War Marshal, Crixtal interrupted, I assure you that 200 ships will appear as an unstoppable armada to these humans. Remember, their largest space vessel is smaller than one of our courier ships. The sight of our demonstration fleet will be so overwhelming that they will surrender immediately. Thekmor sat back down, still looking dissatisfied. Very well, Ambassador, but if these humans prove more stubborn than expected, I will not hesitate to increase our response accordingly. The debate continued for several more hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. The Galactic Council had been expanding their territory for over 3 millennia, and they had perfected the art of peaceful conquest. A small demonstration of force, followed by generous terms of surrender, had worked on every world they had encountered. Meanwhile, on Earth, a very different kind of preparation was taking place. Admiral Marcus Torres stood in the command center of Luna Station, watching as reports flooded in from across the solar system. The massive facility, hidden on the far side of Earth's moon, buzzed with activity as personnel prepared for humanity's greatest challenge. Admiral, we're receiving confirmation from all outer system installations, reported Colonel Jackson, Torres's chief of staff. The shipyards in the asteroid belt are operating at maximum capacity. All vessels are being armed and supplied according to Protocol Omega specifications. Torres nodded grimly. How many ships do we have available, Colonel? Current. Count is 2,147 combat-capable vessels, Jackson replied. That includes everything from heavy battleships down to fast attack craft. The crews are mostly veterans from the Mars conflicts and the Jupiter mining wars. What about the new weapon systems? Torres asked. Are the antimatter torpedoes ready? For deployment? Jackson smiled for the first time in days. All ships are equipped with the new weapons package, sir. The aliens won't know what hit them. Our scientists estimate that a single antimatter torpedo has more destructive power than anything the galaxy has seen in centuries. Torres walked to the massive viewport that looked out toward Earth. His home planet looked peaceful from this distance, but he knew that billions of people were counting on him to protect them. The Galactic Council had made a fatal error in judgment, and he intended to make sure they paid for their arrogance. Colonel, what's the status of our intelligence gathering? Torres asked. We've been monitoring their communications since Captain Chen's first contact, Jackson replied. Their demonstration fleet consists of exactly 200 ships. Just as expected. They're treating this as a routine police action, not a real military operation. Good, Torres said. The longer they underestimate us, the better our chances of success. Have all ships been ordered to maintain communication silence? Yes, sir. The aliens think they're facing 300 primitive warships. They have no idea that we have 7 times that number, all equipped with technology they've never encountered. Torres turned back to face his staff, and his expression was fierce with determination. Gentlemen, in 28 days, the Galactic Council is going to receive the shock of their lives. They think they're coming to accept the surrender of a weak, primitive planet. He paused, looking each officer in the eye. Instead, they're going to discover that humanity has been preparing for this moment for decades. We've built a fleet in secret, developed weapons in isolation, and trained our crews for the day when someone would try to conquer Earth. The Admiral's voice grew louder, filled with the pride and defiance that had carried humanity to the stars. These aliens are about to learn the most important lesson in human history. We don't surrender, we don't bow, and we sure as hell don't become anyone's tributaries. The command center erupted in cheers as officers throughout the facility began preparing for the battle that would determine humanity's future among the stars. Fleet Commander Zekniel adjusted his ceremonial armor as he stood on the bridge of the Council, Dreadnought Infinite Wisdom. Around him, 200 ships of the Galactic Council's demonstration fleet moved through space in perfect formation. Each vessel gleamed with the polished perfection that marked the technology of an advanced civilization. Commander, his communications officer reported, we are approaching the outer edge of the primitive system. Our sensors are detecting the expected defensive positions. Zekniel nodded with satisfaction. Display the tactical situation on the main screen. Let us see how these humans have prepared for our arrival. The massive holographic display showed the solar system spread out before them. Zekniel could see the third planet, Earth, glowing blue and green in the distance. Between his fleet and the planet, his sensors detected the human defensive line exactly where intelligence had predicted it would be. How many ships are we facing? Zekniel asked, though he already knew the answer. Our scanners show approximately 300 vessels, the tactical officer replied. They appear to be arranged in a defensive formation around their homeworld. Primitive tactics, but understandable for a species with limited space combat experience. Zekniel allowed himself a moment of pity for these humans. They were trying so hard to defend their world with their tiny ships and crude weapons. It would almost be sad to crush such determination, but the galaxy required order, and order required the strong to guide the weak. Open a communication channel to the human fleet, he commanded. Let us give them one final chance to surrender before we demonstrate the futility of resistance. The main screen flickered and showed a human face. The creature had brown skin, short, dark hair, and eyes that showed no fear despite the overwhelming odds. Zekniel was mildly impressed by the human's courage. I am Fleet Commander Zekniel of the Galactic Council, he announced. You are Admiral Torres, I assume? That's correct, the human replied. His voice was steady and calm, showing none of the terror that Zekniel expected. I speak for the Earth Defense Force. Admiral Torres, Zekniel continued, surely you can see that resistance is hopeless. My fleet contains 200 of the most advanced warships in the galaxy. Your vessels are outnumbered and completely outclassed. I offer you one final opportunity to surrender and spare your people unnecessary suffering. Admiral Torres was quiet for a moment, and Zekniel thought he saw something that might have been amusement in the human's eyes. Commander Zekniel, I appreciate your offer, but I'm afraid we'll have to decline. Earth is not for sale. Then you choose to sacrifice your people for meaningless pride? Zekniel asked, genuinely puzzled by the human's response. No, Torres replied, and now he was definitely smiling. We choose to defend our world. You see, Commander, you've made a serious mistake. You think you know humanity based on what you could observe from a distance, but you've never seen what we're really capable of. Before Zekniel could respond, his tactical officer shouted in alarm. Commander, new contacts appearing throughout the system. multiple ships decloaking around. Our position. The main display exploded with new information as human ships seemed to materialize out of empty space. They appeared from behind asteroids, emerged from the shadow of planets, and rose from hidden positions throughout the solar system. Within seconds, Zekniel's fleet found itself surrounded by over 2,000 human warships. "How is this possible?" Zekniel whispered, staring at the tactical display in shock. "Our intelligence showed only 300 ships." Admiral Torres's voice came through the communication channel, and now his tone was hard as steel. "Your intelligence was 50 years out of date, Commander. Humanity has been busy since we first detected signs of galactic civilization. We've built shipyards in the asteroid belt, established military bases throughout the outer system, and developed weapons specifically designed to fight alien invaders." Zekniel's mind raced as he tried to understand what had happened. The Council's sensors were the best in the galaxy. How had they missed such a massive military buildup? "Admiral," Zekniel said, trying to maintain his dignity, "even if your numbers are greater than expected, you cannot match our superior technology. Council weapons and shields are the result of thousands of years of development." "Let's test that theory," Torres replied. The first human attack came without warning. Streams of metal projectiles crossed space at incredible speed, slamming into the shields of Council ships with devastating force. Zekniel watched in amazement as several of his vessel's energy barriers flickered and failed under the assault. "What kind of weapons are those?" he demanded. "Railguns," his weapons officer replied, voice shaking with fear. "Kinetic projectiles accelerated to 15% of light speed. Commander, our shields were designed to stop energy weapons, not solid matter moving at these velocities." The second wave of human attack was even worse. Bright flashes filled space as antimatter torpedoes detonated against Council hulls. Ships that had survived countless battles across the galaxy were torn apart in seconds by weapons the Council had never encountered. "Return fire," Zekniel ordered desperately. "All ships, engage the enemy." The Council fleet responded with their traditional energy weapons, sending streams of plasma and coherent light toward the human ships. But the humans were not fighting like any enemy the Council had ever faced. Instead of maintaining formation and trading shots at long range, they scattered and attacked from all directions at once. Human fighters swarmed through the Council formation like angry insects, their small size making them nearly impossible to target effectively. Larger human warships used hit-and-run tactics, appearing from unexpected directions to launch devastating attacks before disappearing back into the chaos of battle. "Commander," his communications officer shouted, "we're receiving surrender requests from 12 of our ships. The Eternal Glory has lost all power. The Stellar Majesty is evacuating crew." Zekniel could hardly believe what he was hearing. Council ships did not surrender. They had not lost a major battle in over 1,000 years. Yet here, in this primitive system, his demonstration fleet was being destroyed by creatures the Council had dismissed as harmless savages. "Admiral Torres," Zekniel said, opening the communication channel again. I request terms of surrender." Torres appeared on screen again, but now his expression was fierce with victory. "Here are my terms, Commander. Your surviving ships will leave this system immediately. You will return to your Council and deliver this message. Earth is under human protection. Any further attempts at invasion will be met with the complete destruction of your forces." Zekniel looked around his bridge at his surviving officers. Half his fleet was gone, destroyed or disabled by weapons they had never imagined. The humans had not just won the battle, they had made it look easy. "Admiral Torres," Zekniel said quietly, "the Council will not accept this defeat. They will send larger fleets, more powerful weapons. This is not over." Torres's smile was cold and predatory. "Commander, tell your Council something for me. Tell them that what they faced today was just Earth's home defense force. Tell them that humanity has been spreading throughout the galaxy for decades, building colonies and fleets they know nothing about." The human admiral leaned forward on the screen. "And tell them that if they want a real war, humanity will give them one they'll never forget. We've been fighting each other for thousands of years, Commander. We know how to kill, and we're very good at it." The transmission ended, leaving Zekniel staring at a blank screen. Around him, the surviving ships of his demonstration fleet limped toward the edge of the system, carrying news that would shake the Galactic Council to its core. The humans had not just refused to surrender. They had proven that the Council's greatest advantage, technological superiority, was an illusion. Earth's fleet was not primitive at all. It was something entirely new, built by a species that understood war in ways the peaceful Council had forgotten. As his damaged ship fled toward Council space, Zekniel realized that the galaxy would never be the same again. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been going on for 3 days, and the chamber buzzed with angry voices from 47 different worlds. High Counselor Veltara tried to maintain order, but the crystalline being was clearly struggling to contain the outrage and fear that filled the ancient hall. War Marshal Thekmor slammed his massive fist against his control panel, sending echoes through the chamber. This is unacceptable. A demonstration fleet of 200 ships destroyed by primitives. How do we explain this humiliation to our people? Ambassador Crixtal stood in the center of the chamber, his 4 eyes showing shame and confusion. War Marshal, I assure you that our intelligence was accurate. These humans somehow hid the true size of their fleet from our sensors. They possess technology we have never encountered before. Technology? Scoffed Trade Minister Kelvar of the Centauri Consortium. What technology could primitives develop that the Council hasn't seen in 3,000 years of expansion? Fleet Commander Zekniel, who had survived the battle at Earth, activated a holographic display showing recordings from the conflict. Ministers, watch carefully. These humans use kinetic weapons that penetrate our energy shields as if they don't exist. Their projectiles move at 15% of light speed, and their ships maneuver in ways that should be impossible. The chamber fell silent as the Council members watched human fighters swarm through their formation, destroying ships with ruthless efficiency. The recordings showed Council vessels being torn apart by weapons that looked primitive but proved devastatingly effective. More importantly, Zekniel continued, their tactics are completely alien to our experience. They don't fight honorable battles at long range. They attack from all directions at once using hit-and-run strategies that turn space combat into chaos. High Counselor Veltara's crystalline form pulsed with deep concern. War Marshal Thekmor, what is your assessment of the human threat? Thekmor studied the battle recordings with the eye of a professional soldier. These humans understand warfare in ways we have forgotten, High Counselor. We have become accustomed to facing enemies who follow the same basic principles of space, combat that have governed galactic conflicts for millennia. These creatures fight like nothing we have ever encountered. He paused, his reptilian features showing grudging respect. They are dangerous, High Counselor. More dangerous than any species we have faced since the founding of the Council. Ambassador Crixtal stepped forward, his voice carrying desperation. Surely you don't suggest we abandon our expansion into human space. The Council has never retreated from primitives before. Primitives? War Marshal Thekmor's laugh was bitter. Ambassador, these are not primitives. A primitive species doesn't build a secret fleet of 2,000 warships. A primitive species doesn't develop antimatter weapons in isolation. These humans have been preparing for galactic contact for decades, and they've been preparing for war. Trade Minister Kelvar activated his own display, showing economic projections and resource assessments. The cost of a full military campaign against these humans could bankrupt half the Council worlds. Our member species joined us for protection and prosperity, not expensive wars against unknown enemies. Then what do you suggest? Demanded General Voxtar of the militant Rigelian Empire. That we simply accept this humiliation? That we allow a single primitive world to defy the authority of the Galactic Council? War Marshal Thekmor stood to his full impressive height, his armor gleaming under the chamber's lights. I suggest we send the Grand Armada, 5,000 ships representing the combined might of all our member worlds. If these humans want to fight, we will show them what real galactic power looks like. The chamber erupted in debate as representatives argued about resources, military strategy, and political consequences. But gradually, a consensus began to emerge. The Council's reputation throughout the galaxy depended on their ability to maintain order. If one world could successfully resist them, others might follow. Very well, High Counselor Veltara announced after hours of discussion. War Marshal Thekmor, you are authorized to mobilize the Grand Armada. Show these humans the true power of galactic civilization. Meanwhile, in the outer reaches of the solar system, Admiral Torres received reports that made him smile with grim satisfaction. Hidden observation posts throughout nearby star systems reported massive fleet movements as the Galactic Council prepared their response to Earth's defiance. Admiral, reported Captain Chen, who had been promoted after her first contact mission, our intelligence networks are tracking over 5,000 Council ships moving toward our sector. It appears they're mobilizing everything they have. Torres nodded as he studied the strategic displays surrounding his command chair. Excellent, Captain. The bigger their fleet, the more impressive our victory will be. Sir, asked Colonel Jackson, are you certain our forces are sufficient to handle 5,000 enemy ships? Even with our technological advantages, those are overwhelming numbers. Torres turned to face his staff, and his expression was filled with confidence. Colonel, the Galactic Council is still making the same mistake they made the first time. They think they're facing just Earth's defenses. He activated a communication array that reached throughout the solar system and beyond. All stations, this is Admiral Torres. Activate Protocol 7. It's time to show our friends in the Council what humanity has really been doing for the past 50 years. Across human space, hidden installations began transmitting acknowledgement signals. Secret colonies that had been established throughout nearby star systems came online, revealing populations and fleets the Council had never suspected. Mining operations and asteroid belts transformed into military supply bases. Exploration ships revealed themselves to be advanced reconnaissance vessels. Colonel, Torres said with satisfaction, transmit the following message to all human commanders throughout the sector. Tell them the Council is sending 5,000 ships to destroy Earth. Tell them it's time to show the galaxy what happens when someone threatens humanity's home. Captain Chen studied the incoming reports with amazement. Admiral, we're receiving confirmations from over 30 star systems. The total fleet strength is, Sir, we have over 10,000 combat-ready vessels. 10,000 ships, Torres repeated, savoring the words. All crewed by humans who understand that freedom isn't free, and that some things are worth fighting for. The Council thinks they're facing a single world with limited resources. He looked out at the stars, knowing that somewhere among them an alien armada was approaching with the intention of conquering humanity. Instead, they're about to discover that humanity has been building an interstellar civilization in secret. We've learned from every mistake in human history, Colonel. We've prepared for this moment since the day we first looked up at the stars. Torres turned back to his staff, and his voice carried the weight of destiny. The Galactic Council believes that might makes right, that advanced civilizations have the right to rule over weaker ones. They're about to learn that humanity has never accepted that philosophy. The Admiral's expression grew fierce with anticipation. War Marshal Thekmor wants to show us what real galactic power looks like. Perfect. It's time to show him what real human determination can accomplish. Throughout human space, fleets began moving toward a rendezvous that would determine the future of the galaxy. The Galactic Council was about to face an enemy unlike any they had encountered in 3,000 years of expansion. An enemy that had spent its entire history learning how to fight impossible odds and win. The asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter had never seen anything like the massive fleet that gathered in its shadows. Over 10,000 human warships floated among the rocky debris, their hulls dark against the starfield as they prepared for the largest space battle in galactic history. Admiral Torres stood on the bridge of the new flagship Defiant Earth, watching as the final squadrons took their positions. The ship was humanity's newest and most powerful vessel, armed with weapons that pushed the boundaries of physics and crewed by the best officers Earth had ever produced. Admiral, reported Fleet Captain Martinez from the tactical station, all human forces are in position. We have confirmation from every squadron commander throughout the belt. Torres nodded, studying the three-dimensional battle display that showed the positions of his forces. Human ships were hidden behind asteroids, concealed in artificial debris. fields, and scattered throughout millions of cubic kilometers of space. When the Council fleet arrived, they would find themselves walking into the most sophisticated ambush in military history. "What's the status of our special weapons?" Torres asked. "The planet-killer dreadnoughts are fully charged and standing by," Martinez replied. "All fighter squadrons have been armed with the new swarm torpedoes. Engineering reports that all antimatter reserves are at maximum capacity." Torres smiled grimly. Humanity had learned much from their first encounter with Council technology. The new weapons his scientists had developed would give the aliens an even bigger surprise than they had received at Earth. "Sir," called Communications Officer Park, "long-range sensors are detecting the Council fleet. 5,000 ships approaching from the direction of Jupiter. They're maintaining standard formation and should reach our position in approximately 2 hours." "Perfect," Torres said. "Transmit the final battle orders to all commands. Remember, we let them get deep into the belt before we spring the trap. I want them so tangled up in our formations that retreat becomes impossible." Throughout human space, other fleets were also moving into position. The Council believed they were facing Earth's defenses, but Torres had gathered ships from dozens of hidden colonies. Humanity had been spreading through the galaxy for 50 years, and now all of those secret worlds were contributing to the defense of their homeworld. On the bridge of War Marshal Thekmore's flagship Galaxy's Pride, the mood was confident despite the previous defeat. The War Marshal had assembled the greatest armada in Council history, with ships from every member world and crews representing dozens of species. "War Marshal," reported his intelligence officer, "our scouts confirm that the human fleet is positioned in the asteroid belt, just as our tactical projections indicated. They appear to be using the debris for cover, a primitive but understandable strategy." Thekmore studied the tactical displays with professional interest. "How many ships are we detecting?" "Approximately 4,000 vessels," came the reply. "Significantly more than their previous defensive force, but still well within acceptable parameters for our operation." The War Marshal nodded with satisfaction. Even if the humans had doubled their fleet size, 5,000 Council ships should be more than sufficient to crush any resistance. The previous defeat had been a fluke, caused by overconfidence and inadequate preparation. This time, he would leave nothing to chance. "All ships," Thekmore announced over the fleet communication system, "we are about to enter the asteroid field, where the humans have chosen to make their final stand. Remember that these creatures are dangerous fighters, but they lack our technological advantages and tactical experience." He paused, looking around his bridge at officers from a dozen different worlds. "Today we restore the honor of the Galactic Council. Today we prove that no primitive species can defy galactic order. Today we bring these humans to their knees." The Council fleet moved into the asteroid belt with the confidence of conquerors. Their formations were perfect, their weapons charged, and their crews prepared for victory. They had no way of knowing that they were flying directly into the most carefully planned military operation in human history. Admiral Torres watched on his displays as the enemy ships spread out among the asteroids, searching for human vessels to engage. The Council fleet was impressive, he had to admit. 5,000 ships representing the combined military might of nearly 50 worlds. Under normal circumstances, it would be an unstoppable force. But these were not normal circumstances. Humanity had spent decades preparing for this exact scenario. "All ships," Torres announced over the fleet communication network, "implement Battle Plan Omega. Show these aliens what humanity is really capable of." The battle began with a sound that shook space itself. Hidden throughout the asteroid belt, humanity's planet-killer dreadnoughts opened fire simultaneously. Beams of focused antimatter lanced through space, each one capable of destroying an entire world. Council ships that had survived countless battles across the galaxy simply vanished. "In bursts of pure energy, impossible," shouted War Marshal Thekmore, as his tactical display showed dozens of his largest ships disappearing in the first few seconds of combat. Where did those weapons come from? Before his officers could respond, the second wave of the human attack began. From every direction, swarms of human fighters emerged from concealment. But these were not the simple attack craft the Council expected. Each fighter carried dozens of independent targeting systems, and as they closed with the Council fleet, they released clouds of micro-torpedoes that sought out enemy ships with deadly precision. The Council formation began to collapse as thousands of small explosions overwhelmed their defensive systems. Ships that could withstand direct hits from battleship weapons found themselves destroyed by swarms of tiny projectiles that penetrated their shields through sheer numbers. "War Marshal," his communications officer shouted over the chaos. "We're detecting massive reinforcements approaching from all directions. Unknown numbers of enemy vessels decloaking throughout the system." Thekmor stared at his tactical displays in horror as the true scope of the human ambush became clear. Ships were appearing everywhere, emerging from concealment behind asteroids, rising from the shadows of planets, and jumping into the system, from hidden bases throughout human space. "How many ships are we facing?" he demanded. "Over 10,000 confirmed contacts," came the terrified reply. "Sir, they've surrounded the entire fleet. We're completely cut off." Admiral Torres watched with satisfaction as the Council fleet found itself trapped in the asteroid belt, surrounded by human forces and taking devastating casualties from weapons they had never imagined. The enemy was brave. He had to give them credit for that. Even facing impossible odds, they continued to fight. But courage alone was not enough against humanity's prepared defenses. "Communications," Torres ordered. "Open a channel to the Council flagship." War Marshal Thekmor's face appeared on the main screen, his reptilian features showing shock and growing desperation. "Admiral Torres," he said, his voice no longer carrying its previous confidence, I request a ceasefire to discuss terms." "The terms are simple," Torres replied. "Surrender immediately, and your surviving crews will be allowed to return to Council space with a message for your leaders." Thekmor looked around his bridge at the chaos surrounding him. Half his fleet was gone, destroyed by weapons the Council had never faced. His remaining ships were trapped in a kill zone with no hope of escape. What message?" he asked quietly. Torres leaned forward, his expression fierce with triumph. "Tell the Galactic Council that their expansion ends here. Tell them that humanity claims this sector of space under our protection. Tell them that any future attempts at invasion will result in human fleets appearing in their home systems." The War Marshal's eyes widened with fear. "You would attack our worlds directly?" "Marshal," Torres said with cold certainty, "we are not the primitive species your Council thought we were. We have been building fleets and establishing colonies throughout the galaxy for decades. We know where your worlds are, and we have the ships to reach them." Torres stood, and his voice carried the weight of humanity's determination. "The age of Galactic Council expansion is over. From now on, this part of the galaxy belongs to humanity. We will not be conquered, we will not be enslaved, and we will not bow to anyone." The communication ended, leaving Thekmor staring at a blank screen as his remaining ships surrendered to the human fleet. Around him, the asteroid belt was filled with the debris of the greatest armada the Council had ever assembled. 3 months later, Ambassador Krixtal stood once again before the Galactic Council, but this time his message was very different. The chamber was quiet as he delivered the terms of humanity's treaty, terms that the Council had no choice but to accept. "The humans demand recognition as a sovereign power in the galaxy," Krixtal reported. "They claim exclusive rights to their sector of space and demand representation on the Council, with full veto power over expansion decisions." High Counselor Veltara's crystalline form pulsed with resignation. "And if we refuse?" "They have made it clear that refusal will result in human fleets attacking Council worlds directly," Krixtal replied. "Our intelligence confirms that they have the ships and technology to make good on this threat."